We prepared to return to the village where we had left my associates. I found that Emil and Jast wished to go to another small village located in the valley about 30 miles from where our trail left the valley trail. I suggested that they go and I accompany them. We camped that night at the shepherd's lodge and were up and started early next morning in order to reach our destination before dark the next day. As we were walking, we were not able to use horses on the trip to the temple and so had left them at the village. About 10 o'clock that morning, there came on a heavy electric storm and it looked as if there would be a downpour, but no rainfall. The country through which we were passing was quite heavily thick dry grass. And the country seemed exceptionally dry. The lightning ignited the grass in a number of places, and before we knew it, we were virtually surrounded by a forest fire. In a few moments, this fire was raging like mad and closing in upon us from three sides with the swiftness of an express train. The smoke was settling down in thick clouds, and I became bewildered and panic-stricken. Emil and Jast seemed cool and collected, and this reassured me somewhat. They said there are two ways of escape. One is to try to get to the next creek where there is water flowing through a deep canyon. If we can reach this canyon, which is about 5 miles away, we can in all probability make ourselves safe until the fire has burned itself out. The other way is to go on through the fire with us if you can trust us to take you through. Instantly, all fear left me as I realized that these men have proved true in all emergencies. Throwing myself, as it were, wholly upon their protection, I stepped between them, and we proceeded on our way, which seemed to be in the direction the fire was raging the most. Then immediately it seemed as if a great archway opened before us, and we went on directly through that fire, without the least inconvenience, either from smoke or heat, or from the burning brands strewn along the trail under our feet. There were at least 6 miles of this fire-swept area that we passed through. It seemed to me as if we were as calm walking along the trail as though there were no fire raging around. This went on until we crossed a small stream and then were out of the fire. While we were going through the fire, Emil said to me, "Can you not see how easy it is to use God's higher law to replace a lower one when you really need the higher? We have now raised the vibrations of our bodies to a higher vibration than that of the fire, and the fire does not harm us. If senses mortal could see us now, they would think we had disappeared, when in reality, our identity is as it has always been. In reality, we actually see no difference. It is the concept of the mortal senses that loses contact with us. Could they see us as we are, no doubt they would think we had ascended. In reality, that is what happens. We do ascend to a plane of consciousness where the mortal does lose contact with us. All can do the same as we are doing. We are using a law given us by the Father to use. We are able to use this law to convey our bodies through any space. This is the law we are using when you see us appear and disappear, or as you call it, annihilate space. We simply overcome difficulties by rising our consciousness above them, and in this way we are able to overcome or to come up over all limitations that man in mortal consciousness has placed upon himself. To me, it had seemed as if we were going over the ground with our feet just touching it. When we were safe across the stream out of the fire, my first impression was that I had awakened from a deep sleep and had dreamed this. But I gradually awoke to the realization of it all, and the real meaning of it began to dawn upon my consciousness. We found a shady place on the bank of the stream, ate our lunch and rested for an hour, then went on to the village. All right, so we'll go on to 14. We stopped in a village 3 days. During these days, a wide vista of the past unfolded before me. I could see these teachings going back in the dim past to the very beginning, whence all came forth from the one source or substance, God. I could see the different offshoots of these teachings being put forth by individuals, each individual adding his concept, each thinking it was his, revealed to him by God or direct revelation from God to him alone. Each feeling that he had the only true message, and that he was the only one to give his message to the world. In this way, the mortal concepts were mixed with that of the true revelation intended, and diversity and in harmony resulted. Then I could see these people, the masters, standing firmly on the rock of true spirituality, perceiving that man is truly immortal, sinless, deathless, unchanging, eternal, the image and likeness of God. It seemed to me that further research must prove that those great people have preserved and handed this truth down the long ages in an unadulterated state, in its unadulterated state. They do not claim to have all there is to give, nor do they ask anyone to accept anything unless they can prove the words themselves and do the work the masters do. They do not claim any authority save the actual works they do. But a number of the people from the surrounding country had congregated at the village for healing, as couriers had gone out with the tidings of the rescue of the 4 who had been captured by the snowmen. We stopped over the next day and attended the assembly and saw some remarkable cures. One young woman, about 20 years of age, who had her feet frozen the previous winter, had them restored. We could actually see the flesh grow until they were normal, and she walked with perfect ease. 2 blind people had their sight restored. One of them, we're told, was born blind. One of them, we were told, was born blind. There were a number of minor cases healed. After the assembly, we asked Emil whether there were many converts. He said a great many were really helped, and in that way their interest was aroused. They would for a time become workers, but the greater part of them soon fell back into their old ways of living, as they found it would be too much exertion to take up the work in earnest. The people nearly all live an easy, carefree life, and there seems to be about 1% of those that profess to believe that are really in earnest. The rest depend entirely upon others to help them when they get into trouble. Right here is where a great deal of their trouble lies. The masters say they can assist everyone that really desires help, but they cannot actually do the work for anyone. They can tell others of the abundance in store for them, but to be actually one with and of the abundance, each individual must accept and prove it for himself by actually knowing and doing the works. So we're walking through, we walked on water, we dematerialized, we rematerialized, we traveled through the invisible, we've healed people, we've turned, we've manifested the goods that we needed so far, and we've done a lot of things. And